Can you believe it? We've hit 100 episodes. It has been an amazing ride over these last 2 years. Have had the opportunity to talk with such incredible guests, some of which I've asked to join me on this program, join me on this celebration, and I've asked them to give me not only what they're currently doing, but a tip, some strategies, maybe a prediction or two about the upcoming year to help you, the physician entrepreneur. So won't you join me on this jam-packed episode of BootStrapMD?
Remember when you could practice medicine on your own terms? What if you could take control of your physician career, make more money while working smarter, not harder? Pick up your copy of The Positioned Physician. Earn more, work smart, and love medicine again. Now updated for 2021, The Positioned Physician details one doctor's journey from burnt-out employee to successful entrepreneur. Whether you are in residency, in mid-career, or close to retirement, after reading The Positioned Physician, you'll gain the knowledge that can strategically impact your doctor life. The Positioned Physician, now available on Amazon Kindle and paperback.
Hey guys, this is Dr. Mike Woo-Ming. Welcome to this special episode of BootStrapMD. BootStrapMD is the podcast for physician entrepreneurs. If this is your first time listening, welcome. If you've been a long-time follower to the program, welcome back. As I mentioned, BootStrapMD podcast, when I started it, it was to talk about the issues that could affect physician and healthcare entrepreneurs. If you've never heard about me, my name is Dr. Mike Woo-Ming. I'm a primary care physician. It's going on 17 years ago. I left corporate medicine where I was incredibly burnt out and disillusioned. I started up my own business, basically from the laptop from my bedroom, was able to take it to 7 figures and later sell that. I was able then to parlay my entrepreneurial experience. I own a number of different businesses, most of which are multiple medical clinics, as well as I own a consulting company called BootStrapMD, where I help other physician entrepreneurs, help them chase their dreams. I talk about my story in this book, The Positioned Physician, if you want to learn more. Plug out of the way. But over the last 2 years, I realized that was just my journey, and I wanted to highlight other physician entrepreneurs who were out there and talk about their journeys and how they got there. When I first started working with other doctors in terms of business, and I wanted to voice to them that that is an option that they can do. And when I would go to medical conferences to talk about these subjects, I literally had the door slammed in my face because, at least from my experience, they just wanted doctors to write more prescriptions and not talk about ways that they could become their own boss. So that's one of the reasons I started BootStrapMD. So since we started this podcast over 2 years ago, we've had some just amazing guests throughout the years. And I wish I could highlight everybody, but on this program, I just wanted to highlight, especially those that we haven't heard from in a while. But I realized it was important for me to highlight other physicians' journeys because for those who are considering going into entrepreneurship, it's great to have real-life examples of just success stories that I could highlight and share to the world. So I encourage you to look at past episodes where you can hear from physicians who started their own online business, selling online courses or through Amazon, those who've done incredibly well through real estate, and many of those who started their own consulting and coaching businesses. Go ahead and check those out. I encourage you to subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss any single one. But let's start off with my first guest. We first met her all the way back in episode number 2. And what was interesting is we found out that we actually went to the same residency. So back when I interviewed this doctor, way back in episode number 2, she had talked about quitting medicine and is now completely out of it. So let's find out what she is currently doing. Let's hear from Dr. Lynn Marie Morsky.
Hey everyone, Lynn Marie Morsky here. I wanted to congratulate Mike Woo-Ming on the 100th episode of his podcast video extravaganza, BootStrapMD. I was on as episode number 2. I think he said I was his first interview. Very honored, Mike. Thank you so much. Great to see all the people that you've helped since you started the podcast. He has asked us to give you a little update. I am not at all doing what I was doing back when he recorded our episode. I am currently both the medical director of a website called wayofleaf.com, and also, and more relevantly for this crowd, I am president of the Psychedelic Medicine Association. So Mike has asked me to give you predictions for 2021. And I would say my biggest prediction is that mental health will be taken over by psychedelic medicines. There are a lot of psychedelic medicines that are in phase 2 and phase 3 trials with the FDA, some starting in phase 1. I think they're going to really revolutionize both mental and, therefore, physical health. In fact, there are some psychedelics that are currently being investigated strictly for physical health conditions, although we mostly know at this point nothing is just physical. But if you are looking toward the future, as a physician entrepreneur, I would take a look at psychedelic medicines, because that's absolutely the next wave of things, because they're proving to be much more efficacious than what we have now. So also, if you are a practitioner and you want to know more, head over to the Psychedelic Medicine Association, which can be found at psychedelicmedicineassociation.org. I hope you all have a fantastic 2021. Bye.
Thanks, Lynn Marie. Now, I first met this doctor when he had put a post on a Facebook group on how he was interested in finding other doctors who were interested in passive income, which was just music to my ears. And I went to his little meetup in Los Angeles, when you could still do that, and got to meet him as well as other doctors who had the same line of thinking that I had. He's now since gone to even more incredible things, even launching the biggest virtual summit for physicians in this space. It was called the Leverage and Growth Summit, where he had over 10,000 doctors join. You know him as the Passive Income MD, Dr. Peter Kim. And now we got Peter Kim on the call. Peter, thanks. So we're celebrating the 100th episode. It's been a while since we've been chatting, and of course, everything has been kind of blown up. Last time we talked, I think we didn't even have this pandemic. At least last time I interviewed you. What's been going on with you?
Well, thanks so much. I want to start by saying thanks for having me as part of this. I think being part of BootStrapMD, being on the podcast, it's been a big part of my journey as well. So thanks for having me. It's been a lot has happened. I mean, I feel like we've talked a bunch since then, but since that time in 2019, I think is the last time we've talked, I have really focused on trying to get the message out about real estate investing and entrepreneurship to as many physicians as possible. A lot of that has happened through a lot of these virtual conferences that I've run. One's called the Leverage and Growth Summit, and the other one's called Financial Freedom Through Real Estate. And both of those conferences, they are, thousands and thousands of physicians, over 10,000 physicians to our first one and 8,000 to our other one. So we're just trying to get as many people like on this mission, at least understanding there are so many different options for doctors when it comes to creating income. And I totally believe that if you're able to do that, create other sources of income, it allows you to really practice medicine on your own terms, whether that's working full-time, whether it's working part-time, whether it's actually, leaving medicine, if that's the case. But whatever it is, you get to do it on your own terms. And so you're making that decision, and hopefully that makes you a happier doctor, a happier person, a happier husband, wife, whatever that might be.
So any projects or anything you want to share coming up for you and your company for 2021?
Yeah, we're just working on these virtual conferences and making them even better than they were before. Last year was an experiment in a lot of them. Our upcoming conference, the Leverage and Growth Summit, this is our second annual one. It's hopefully bigger and better this year. It will happen in March. And we're hoping to even increase on top of the number of people that were there before. Again, and just get it to as many people as possible.
Do you think virtual summits, I mean, we were almost forced to, right? I mean, we've done physical conferences. I know I've done physical, and everything is going virtual. Do you think we're going to go back to physical, or do you think virtual conferences is the way you want to go in the future?
I mean, well, I'll tell you, I miss it. I miss the physical, like in-person conferences. I will tell you, in 2019, I went to, on average, a little bit over one conference a month, like in person at least. Wow. So I went to a lot, and I don't know if I'm a conference junkie or whatever it is, but I love the interaction because I think I get so much value out of just talking to people and connecting. And sometimes as networking, you get more out of it in a conversation that you did even at the entire conference or even reading something in a book. So I find so much value out of it. I tried to recreate that in virtual format. It doesn't quite work the same.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, what the virtual conference does and allows you to do is reach so many more people that wouldn't be able to kind of leave their home, leave their families to spend that time and energy to come and see you or see whatever you put on. And so I don't think it's not going anywhere. I promise you. Virtual summits and conferences, now that we've created them, and the sheer numbers of people that have been attending these type of things and people are getting used to them, I don't think they're going anywhere. They're only going to continue to grow, and the production level is increasing on these. So I have to step up my game. But I think people get a ton of value out of it. I think there's going to be always some tweaking as to how to make it best, how to recreate some of this in-person type stuff. But if people are interested in getting in on this, by no means is like the market saturated. Just go out there and build one and create one.
Yeah, and I know how hard you and your team have been working behind the scenes. I can't even imagine what the next one is going to be like. So I've been asking the guests, these returning guests to come in, my podcast guests, if they could share any wisdom, a tip, or prediction that you have for 2021.
Okay, I'm going to come up with one. I think that, I'm in the world of physician finance when it comes to knowledge-based business and physician finance. And a lot of people have told me, all right, has that been saturated? Has that been capped? But with everything that's happened with COVID in the last year, with physicians feeling job insecurity, with feeling health insecurity, with all the uncertainty around medicine and things like that, I believe that finding alternative income streams, being smarter with your investments, finding passive income, real estate investing, these things are only going to become bigger for physicians in 2021. And I think that the number of people doing courses on it, doing conferences on it, trying to learn and go on websites about it, people launching these businesses, I think will only become bigger in 2021. And if that's something people are interested in it, I think this is a massive and great time to jump in.
I love that feeling of abundance. And when you launched the Leverage and Growth Conference that I was honored to be a part of, I mean, you broke that kind of milestone in terms of amount of physicians for this, whatever you call this thing that we do, physician finance, as you called it, 10,000 physicians. And that's a lot of doctors out there. But then how many doctors are in the US alone, right? Nearly 1 million. So that's still 990,000 other doctors that are still out there to reach. And, I've always been beating it from a drum. This physician finance needs to be a required course in medical school. I'm sure you agree, correct?
Oh, absolutely. I think that people who get exposed to it early on, it actually increases, I think, first of all, career longevity, sustainability, and they're happier physicians, in my opinion, because a lot of these physicians that I'm seeing that are learning early, they figure out how to handle their debt well. They figure out how to make wise investments early on, and then they don't feel so trapped within the system. And so it's a big thing.
Well, Peter, I know you've been busy. I know you've got things behind the scenes. So thank you again. And, have a prosperous 2021.
Well, congratulations on your 100th episode. Thank you for letting me be a part of it.
Thanks again to Dr. Peter Kim. If you want to hear more about his story, I interviewed him way back in episode number 30, where he learned as a busy anesthesiologist, he needed to stop substituting time for money, get involved more in his real estate investments, where he is now financially free. Now, if you're someone who's saying, I'm just too busy as a doctor to start a business, then you definitely need to listen to my next guest that we had interviewed way back in episode number 38. He started his first successful business as a resident. He's probably one of the most prodigious physician entrepreneurs I know. Let's talk to Dr. Christopher Liu. All right, we've got Dr. Christopher Liu. Chris, you're one of our more popular guests that was on the program. We're celebrating our 100th episode, so thanks for stopping by for a few minutes. What have you been up to, my friend?
Well, congratulations on the 100th episode. I believe I appeared on your podcast a little bit over a year ago, and like we all know, last year was quite a pivotal year.
Not much has changed since then. Nothing happened.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, 2020 was hard for some, but if you're an entrepreneur like you and your audience, it was a year of quick pivots and just massive opportunities. A lot of opportunities in the equity markets, and just capitalizing on virtual meetings, seminars, and moving everything to virtual environments. So I just got recently finished with a digital health consulting project in Seattle back in October. Then took a month off, and I just finished up a successful December workshop, helping clients learn how to successfully invest in short-term rentals.
Okay.
So, yeah, and my whole webinar workshop bootcamp series started actually in March of the pandemic, when everybody was freaking out and reaching out. And there was a lot of turmoil. So I started this series to really help a broader audience, and able to leverage technology and scale and help
Wow.
more people make a greater impact. So that's been my predominant focus. I've been really growing my social media following on Instagram. I got named as one of the top 50 doctors to follow on Instagram by Board Vitals.
Wonderful.
Recently,
Congrats.
yeah, it's been really good. I think last year, really leveraging social media, leveraging digital platforms, digital technology, virtual environments really helped and saved a lot of businesses, and helped saved a lot of entrepreneurs. So, and it's really interesting because you see a lot of business models, especially in so many different sectors, evolving because of this whole pandemic. So I think what's interesting is that, for example, back in 2008, when the whole crisis came, a lot of companies, including DoorDash, Airbnb, Uber, Lyft, they came, and now they're all IPO'd. So I
Hmm.
think from this year, you're going to see a lot of new innovative companies who eventually go public in the next 8 to 10 years.
Yeah, to keep an eye on it. It's funny, Chris and I, we have this weird thing over the last year where we have these one word texts. And so like during the pandemic is really where I got into stock trading, because I knew that a lot of the stocks were going to drop, which they did, and just buy
Yeah.
it at bargain basement prices. And I remember we were talking, and then he said, "You need to invest in Tesla." I said, "Nah, that's over." And then he'll like say Tesla exclamation point, and then because it went high, and then I would respond, "Okay, I'll buy a few," and then it drops,
Yeah.
as it did, and then I would go Tesla exclamation point. And now it's just gone crazy. So I want to thank you for that. But yeah, that was the thing that for me during the pandemic is I really got into stock trading and really learned about options trading. So it's been a fun roller coaster ride. But thank you for sharing that. So what do you have? Because I know you're always kind of on the cutting edge. You know what's going on in social media. It seems
Uh-huh.
like you have your ear to like what's going on, especially with physicians and entrepreneurship. What advice or tips or a prediction you have for this year?
Well, I think 2021 is going to be really you're going to see really exponential changes from 2020. And so, like I said, you're going to see, for example, I think virtual reality is going to be really big. So I
Oh,
started, yeah, I actually got a Oculus Quest 2 for Christmas, just to learn about the technology and learn how to leverage that. And I think, I recently added a virtual reality live series in addition to my weekly webinar. So I think you'll see virtual reality come into play. Artificial intelligence continues to make gains, and so I think there was recently in California, there was a rollout of autonomous delivery vehicles, semi small vehicles that deliver food to college campuses. So
wow.
I think autonomous vehicles are going to be, you'll start to see that. And another kind of controversial area for physicians is the blockchain. So I recently wrote a Kevin MD article talking about blockchain and how it relates to digital currencies and what it really means for the future of healthcare. So 2021, you're going to see a lot of action in digital currencies. I don't, again, buyer beware, because it's a lot of speculation and hype. So it's not really a sound or solid investment, but it's something to worth learning about and understanding and getting familiar with, because digital currencies are among the first applications of the blockchain, but the blockchain has so many other different applications that we really haven't explored, and especially in healthcare, for example, supply
Sure.
chain management, privacy, security. There's a whole host of applications. So I think blockchain will continue to be in the forefront.
Yeah, and unfortunately, as you know, in medicine, it's we're still antiquated. We're always seems behind the times. So, but
Exactly.
yeah, I love what you're thinking. Where can they go to find out more and follow your writing and your teachings?
Well, I have a Linktree link. So it's www.linktree.com, and it's Dr. Chris Liu, MD, PhD. I'll send you the link. And then I'm also, you follow me on Instagram, Dr. Chris Liu, MD, PhD. I'm at almost 2,500 followers now. My YouTube channel is growing, over 100 videos. Twitter, Dr. Chris Liu, MD, PhD. And you can always email me as well. So like I said, I've really leveraged social media and technology, and it's really helped me leverage and expand my reach to my followers.
Yeah. So for you guys who are listening and you want to, I always think you can learn best from other examples. Chris is someone that you definitely want to follow if you want to increase your social media presence. Chris, always great talking to you. Excellent. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Mike. See you next time.
Thanks, Chris. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't have my next guest on. He was really the doctor who encouraged me to do a weekly podcast, because I can pretty much guarantee that the 100th episode would have been celebrated maybe in 2027 and not this year. Just encouraged me to do a weekly podcast, and every Saturday an episode goes out. He's also helped me in numerous ways, and probably the nicest doctors that I've ever met, Dr. John Jerica.
Hey, Mike, Dr. Mike Woo-Ming. Congratulations. I hear you've got 100 podcast episodes completed. That's crazy. I can't believe it. You're catching up with me. I'm still doing my podcast. I'm hitting about episode 177 today. But man, it's great to hear that you've made 100 episodes, and I want to congratulate you. I want to tell you that I love your podcast. Yours, as I've told you before, is the first one that I listen to each week because I think it's practical, it's fun, it's inspirational, and you really get to the core issues about starting your own business. So again, I'm very happy to say congratulations. Now, what have I been up to? I was on your podcast in episode number 25. That was over a year ago. And then I came on again with Tom Davis in episode number 68 to talk about the Clinician's Career Cooperative. So that is still going. That is an on-site forum where mentors like you and a dozen or so others interact with members to teach them about unconventional, non-traditional careers, non-clinical careers, and so forth. So we just relaunched that. So if people are interested, they should check it out at clinicianscooperative.com. What else am I up to? I started the Non-Clinical Career Academy, I think, since my first episode with you. So that's where I teach online courses about non-clinical careers. And actually, it does feature one with you, where you and I are talking about your book and some of the things that you were teaching in the book. So, that's cool. What else? I've learned something in this past year, which I didn't know when I was talking to you on episode 28 and then subsequently at your conference, because we were talking about lead generation and growing an email list and so forth. And I realized after that another great way to grow your list is to do webinars. Now, I learned this from John Lee Dumas of Entrepreneur on Fire. He has a whole series of webinars that he does that kind of feeds into these funnels. But for the most part, what I've tried to do now is every month or two hold a webinar where I'm teaching potential students, and I've got it set up that to join, they have to join my email list as well. And I just teach them something for 30 or 45 minutes, and I build my email list, and they get something out of it, and then I can send them more information about things I'm doing. So that's a bit of advice I have, a business advice from the standpoint of what you might try if you're in that early phase of building your business. Definitely do regular webinars. They can be automated after the first few times that you do them. That's what I'm planning to do next. So that's a recent thing I've learned. I hope it's helpful. And again, Mike, I want to congratulate you on 100 awesome episodes, and keep up the good work. And hopefully we'll get back together again real soon. All right. Bye, Mike.
Thank you, John. And I definitely encourage you to check out his podcast as well. He's got some amazing guests on, and it really is essential learning if you're a doctor looking for non-clinical opportunities. Now, as I mentioned at the top of my program, I felt almost like a lone wolf talking about physician entrepreneurship to other physicians. And it was difficult to even talk about other ways that you can generate revenue as an employed physician. But I wasn't completely alone. There were some pioneers that were out there and talking about non-clinical opportunities, non-clinical jobs. And one of them is one of my next guests who I've finally got to know over the last couple of years. I've had the honor of being part of her conferences, and she's probably one of the most influential doctors out there in the space. Let's talk to Dr. Michelle Mudge Riley. All right, Michelle, it's great to see you again. I know a lot of my audience, they love when they have you on. I just want to know what's going on, any new projects you want to share with us? What's going on with your life right now?
Well, thanks so much for having me again, Mike. It's always fun to talk with you, and I love your audience. I always have stuff going on. So let's see. So we finished up the 2020 conferences. Of course, they were virtual because of COVID, but it was really a great thing because it really gave a new life to the conference and helped it to be more accessible to people because we went online. And so 2021 will also be a virtual year for the Physicians Helping Physicians Conference. And we got CME approved this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not only... I'm looking into it. That can not only be time consuming, but it can be expensive as well.
Yeah, but worth it because it's hard to get that CME, and it's a great way to also just use some of that money and actually get to be part of a conference that you might already want to be part of. So maybe they'll pay for it. Maybe they'll give you some time off. It's just
will open up some more, opportunities for people who been thinking about it, but it's often hard to pay out of pocket. And for many of us doctors, we've got that CME allowance somewhere in there. So, and I've always been an advocate is like, this needs to be, in terms of medical education, this is probably the best bang for the buck that you get by coming to one of your conferences.
Awesome. Thanks. Well, it's going to be the biggest yet. So we're really excited. All brand new speakers this year. Of course, we'll have some old speakers back in maybe next year. And so everyone that loves hearing you speak, which are a lot of people, will get to hear you again in the future, just not in March. So we've got that going on. And then I also do non-clinical work in addition to running the conference and doing some coaching. I do consulting work. I've been on faculty at university, been the entrepreneur in residence, and just recently, I signed a contract to start a new MSL job. So I will be working as a medical science liaison in a contract role for the next year as well. So that'll be fun, and I'll get to talk about all my experiences, and really looking forward to it.
Well, what's interesting too is, at least for the last few conferences I've been into, you've always had someone talking about MSL. So I guess you're really walking the walk, so to speak, right?
Absolutely. Well, I sort of feel like in order to provide the best information and advice, you really have to stay up on what a non-clinical job and career is. And I mean, those are the people that give the best advice, the ones that are right there doing it. So, practicing the interview skills, keeping those sharp, making sure you're staying on top of the trends with resumes and LinkedIn and networking. And for me, I love the work itself. So yeah, this is just another way for me to be in that non-clinical world as a doctor, and but still getting to serve in the way that I love to do, which is helping others with their careers through the conference.
Well, we'll definitely need to have you back after, maybe a few months or a year after you're doing it, so you could give us the scoop. So I've been asking all of my guests that I've been having on the special 100th episode about any tips or words of advice or maybe a prediction about 2021 for my audience, physician entrepreneurs?
Great. Yeah. When I think about the new year, it's always a time for reflection for me. And I think other entrepreneurs feel that way too, and non-entrepreneurs as well. It's a time for people to turn over a new leaf, to look ahead, to leave behind maybe some of the things that weren't so good and run towards the hopes and the dreams that we all have of the new year. And I'm no different. I definitely think that way. But this year, as I was reflecting of 2020 and what a tough year it's been, and looking at 2021, and all of us are really hanging our hopes on 2021 and the vaccine and just ending this pandemic. I really started thinking, though, that being so caught up in just thinking that 2021 is going to be it's going to be the best year, it's going to be so much better. Now, while I hope it will be, and while I don't think you should be negative about it, it's also going to inevitably bring some things that are not so good and some frustrations. And I feel like when you hang all of your hopes on this next year and you just put all those eggs in that basket, it's very easy to get frustrated and upset and paralyzed with decisions and all of these things that cause us to just not have such a good year when things inevitably go wrong. So I think for your audience, if you're looking at the year, and it's good to look at it with a lot of that hope, but also know that it's going to bring ups and downs, goods and bads, and just going ahead and not letting those things stop you, just moving ahead no matter what, even if the pandemic still keeps going for a little while, even if something else happens where we're all like, oh, what are we going to do? You just got to keep moving forward. And I know that's what you do, Mike. I mean, you're great at pivoting and figuring out how to work in new situations. So that's what I would say to all the entrepreneurs is just keep going, no matter what, ups and downs. You can do this. You can set your goals. You can make those goals. So just go do it.
And I like what you said too. Also, not only just moving forward, but in terms of diversification. And I think a lot of doctors realize, hey, I've got this, it's my one job, it's my one income, all the eggs are on one basket. And now, for a few of them, unfortunately, our colleagues, they either lost their job or they were furloughed. And it just realizes, hey, just like what you're doing with your businesses, real estate, maybe MSL positions, so many different opportunities. I think it's definitely opened up some eyes in terms of that multiple streams of income that we all talk about.
Yes, diversifying not only your income, but what you're doing. Absolutely.
Yeah. And having fun doing it too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Michelle, again, we're going to need to get you back. I want to find out with your new job position, but thanks again. And as always, it's always great chatting with you.
You too. See you later, Mike.
Thanks, Michelle. If you want to hear more about Michelle and her story, check out episode number 5 and number 67, where she talks about her non-clinical job journey. She'll be having an amazing event coming up this spring. If you're interested in non-clinical opportunities, definitely encourage you to be a subscriber to this podcast. We're going to talk more about that as we get closer to that event. Now, on the BootStrapMD podcast, we've been able to highlight a number of successful physician entrepreneurs, but we've also had non-physician entrepreneurs as well. Throughout the years, I've been able to connect and network with some of the biggest online business entrepreneurs that are out there. I've been hearing a lot from the listeners lately about online business strategies, such as how can I monetize my blog more, how can I launch a successful online course, how can I market myself better, and I hope to have more of those type of episodes in the upcoming months. And one of the most popular episodes that I still get feedback from is my next gentleman's episode where I interviewed him. It was episode number 43 on how to write a book in under 60 minutes. And it was one of the most talked about episodes we've ever launched. Let's hear from Robert Plank.
What really great ideas do you wish you have implemented in your medical business, in your online business? What really great advice have you heard from Dr. Mike or from one of his guests and you just never had the time to implement it? Well, lately, I have been hiring teams of employees to do things for me, like write emails for me, write books, edit books, create covers and graphics, update old books and create new graphics, write promotional emails for me, edit and produce podcasts for me, find me new clients to edit and publish podcasts and upload and edit podcasts for them too. Hiring people and having them do the work for you is one of the best things that you could ever do. And maybe you have found yourself trying to pivot from some of those in-office employees to remote workers, or maybe you have to rebuild, or you've been even thinking about having remote workers do some of the tasks that you just don't want your regular people to do. Whatever it is, there are 3 tools lately that have really made this possible for me. Tool number 1 is a task manager called Asana, Asana. It's free, just get the free level. And what you can do is create a list of tasks for yourself and say, well, today I want to name my podcast. And you make it as a task, and you can set a due date or just leave it as something on your to-do list and then check it off and it's done. And then when you bring someone else on board in your business or stay more organized, you can say, well, here is this task that I want done. I want someone to spend 1 hour proofreading my book, and you assign it to Mike. And then when Mike goes and does it, then you can see that he has checked it off. So this tool, Asana, is really great for managing even your current employees or your future employees or your in-office employees or your remote workers, just giving them 45-minute or so tasks to do and then checking it off. And this might even be some menial kind of work. It might be just write a quick email to blast to my patients telling them about like our latest offer or our latest promotion. And what if you tasked someone an hour just to write a quick 100-word message? And that's just something that you did not have to do. The second tool that has helped so much is another free tool. It's a chat tool called Slack. And if you use message systems like Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, Skype, it's the same idea. Only with Slack, you can use this app just for workplace activities and not have to mix your iMessage with all of this. And you can create chat rooms and things like that. So Slack helps so much, especially if your workers get stuck or if you're having them clock in or out. Slack is a great place to chat with your employees, especially like we said, if they're working remotely now you can stay in touch and they can ask you about tasks. And then the third and final tool we're talking about today is called Udemy, Udemy. And this is a course marketplace where for about $20 you can buy a course for your employee and teach them how to create graphics, how to write email marketing copy, how to publish books. You can just buy a course for them and have them spend a week or 2 or however long it takes going through a course, learn a new skill, and then have them finally just implement some of the things in your business that you've always wanted to go ahead and do, like having an email sequence or having a new website or getting yourself on podcasts or finally getting into video marketing or social media marketing. Instead of having to hire a specialist or instead of having to learn it yourself or do it yourself, buy a course on Udemy for one of your employees, remote or in person. Chat with them on Slack so that way they can check in and tell you how things are going, and then use this tool called Asana where you can assign enough tasks to fill up the day and the week, assign them to this person, have them leave a comment under the task and say, I wrote this email for you, I created this graphic for you, and they can check those things off. Really think about if you have been hesitating about hiring a person or about getting into some of the more advanced online activities that you should be doing. Asana for task management, Slack for chat, and Udemy for the course that you buy to put them to learn this new skill and put them through this course. My name is Robert Plank from WWHW Book. My podcast and website is marketeroftheday.com. Dr. Mike is such a cool guy. He has a wonderful podcast. I'm sure he's going to come out with many more thousands of episodes in the future. Please continue listening. You're going to love it. And most of all, importantly, continue implementing the things that he teaches and tells you and the things that his guests say. And if you're stuck, then contact me, contact Mike, or have an employee use these 3 tools to get it done.
Thanks, Robert. Thanks for the kind words. Straight out of the gate, just giving you guys great content, great nuggets of information. If you want to hear more from Robert and his marketing genius, you need to check out his podcast, Marketer of the Day with Robert Pike Podcast. Subscribe to it. You won't regret it. And my next guest really encapsulates what it is to be a bootstrapped MD. This surgeon really had to reinvent himself. He bootstrapped his business, and in 73 days, he was able to develop a 6-figure income. If you want to hear more about his story, you can find out in episode 19. Let's see what Dr. George Wong is up to. All right, we got the illustrious Dr. George Wong here. And George, your episode was one of the most well-received of podcast episodes that I've done. And what was interesting is it was one of the few that you actually came down to San Diego, not just to my office, but it just so happened that you were there and we decided to record a podcast. And if I remember, we did it twice.
Oh, that's right. The first time it didn't take. I said, no problem. We'll do it over.
Yeah, what a trooper. Well, what are you up to? It's been a while since we've chatted.
It has. Yeah. So part of my journey, I think when we last spoke, I was working and I still have some clients who are holistic physicians. But what happened since then is I found out about an online video conferencing and networking platform. It's called Remo, not the drum company, but Remo, Remo.co. And so I started using it, and I had a conversation with the CEO and founder. And this is like, I discovered this platform in November of 2019. And then I started having conversations that turned into almost daily conversations starting December 2019 and heading into January 2020. And given, I'm a strategist, I have worked with entrepreneurs literally from around the world. I've created financial software for entrepreneurs. I'm a conversion copywriter. So it's giving all these tips based on that experience. And one thing led to another. And for the first several months, I was really volunteering my time, literally, even into February, March, April. At the time? What's that?
You were just a customer at the time? You liked the product?
I love the product, yeah. And I was volunteering my advice. And then it got to the point where I was volunteering more time for Remo than I was spending time with my business that paid me money. So long story short, so now I'm full-time member of the team. I have an equity stake in the company, and our valuation is just skyrocketed. Our customer base is skyrocketed. We've converted from being a kind of like the proverbial build the airplane as you fly. We ditched that. We're now building the rocket ship as we fly.
And we'll have the link in the show notes.
Yeah.
Is it REMO? How do you spell it?
REMO.co.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so why do you like that platform as opposed to all the Zooms of the world and WebExes of the world?
Question. So Remo's unique and different because when you come into the space, you'll see a virtual conference room or whatever. We call it a floor plan. You can have whatever floor plan you want. You can have a beach scene if you want. You can have tables and seats in a beach or in a conference room or on a spaceship if you want. Okay. And what's different about us compared to say Zoom is that you can move freely at will from table to table and from floor to floor and from virtual building to virtual building. Whereas in Zoom, until they had the breakout rooms, but until recently you were stuck in breakout rooms called Zoom jail, right? But it's just, you're there, you see other people, but here we have visuals that give you orientation and that set the mood and set the environment for the type of meeting or conversation you want to have.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you just timed it right.
Yeah, it's like exactly. Yeah.
Wow, wow. Well, that's great. Well, what I've been asking my returning podcast guests
Mhm.
is, what do you have? What can you share with our physician entrepreneurs, whether it's a tip or some advice or maybe a
Yeah.
prediction for this year?
Yeah. So my number one tip would be to, if you're not doing it already, get involved with producing and hosting online events.
Hmm.
With coronavirus, it's not too late if you haven't done it, but with coronavirus, more and more people have gotten used to being online. And whether it's work from home online or go get education online or attend other events online, all the above. The reason I recommend doing that is because even once coronavirus settles down, which it will at a certain point, who knows exactly when, vaccine or not, but it will settle down. And but we're not going back to the way things used to be. We're going to have a world where we have a combination of live events and virtual events, hybrid events. So virtual events are going to become even more popular. So for physician entrepreneurs, no matter what area of entrepreneurship you're involved with, more than likely you'll find a place for virtual events in your business and your business model.
Yeah, I mean, now, Zoom and these is just commonplace from, my kids, and I'm sure your kids with school and everything. And we're just used to it now. And now it's
Absolutely.
like, I'm looking at things like in real estate, and they have to, okay, well, where am I going to have my online part in the house? Where am I going to be recording this?
Yeah.
And it's just, there's obviously the coronavirus. It's taken its toll, but if you could find a silver lining to it, it's now we are just more accustomed to talking on our computers, talking in front of our camera, and it's just the sharing of information has just gone, 1,000-fold.
Absolutely. And there are advantages to virtual that more and more people are discovering, because now you have international reach.
Right.
In a heartbeat, in a few clicks, you're international. And that opens up opportunities for meeting people that you normally wouldn't have met and developing collaborations that you couldn't have developed before.
Wow. Well, you got to listen to Dr. Wong. You're going to have to let me know the next time the company that you're going to envision, you're going to predict, because it seems like you are definitely ahead of the curve about what's coming up. So, George, it's always good to see you, and let's stay in touch. Thanks again.
Absolutely.
Thanks, George. My next guest also has one of our most downloaded episodes. It was way back in episode number 3, where he shared with us an overlooked passive income strategy. Let's talk to my friend Travis Tolstrup and see what he's up to. Travis Tolstrup, my friend, how are you doing? It's been a while since we've chatted. Just want to know, what are you currently working on? Something that you could share with our audience today.
Oh, thanks for having me back here real quick, Dr. Mike. We have been busy. We have been super busy. As I don't know if you remember, we talked a little bit about self-directed IRA investing.
Oh yeah, one of our most popular episodes.
Oh, that's exciting to hear, and I don't see it slowing down. I feel like that knowledge is kind of being brought out into the mainstream, and a lot of people don't know about it. So I think it's super neat. We spend a lot of time doing that, helping doctors. We're out, if you remember, we're out investing in a lot in the Midwest, right? So we're out in Kansas, we're in Indianapolis, and we love the bread and butter deals that we can pick up there. And we actually hit phase 1 of our mission, which was to help 100 families get a home that they didn't think they could get through a lease with the option to purchase. And that's been exciting. And none of that could have happened without any of our private lenders, who are mostly doctors and surgeons. So we really appreciate that. A lot of them investing out of tax deferred, some tax-free vehicles. There's a little bit of structuring that needs to happen, just because a lot of doctors are high income earners. So to actually qualify for one of the tax-free accounts is a little bit more difficult, but with some strategy it can definitely be done. But for the most part, they're investing out of tax deferred or just taxable buckets. But it's exciting. We this on average, we're placing a new family into a home at least once a week.
Wow.
And that's been really, really good. And we hope to double that. So we've been in one of our markets, we've helped 100 families, and that took us about 36 months. And renovations were our main bottleneck, right? Herding cats with contractors, right? If you've ever done some of that. But the neat thing is we do a lot of that, and the private investors don't have to worry about that. They just collect their monthly interest checks, but we keep them apprised of everything we're doing with lots of cool updates. So, but it's been fun. We've been blessed. And it's interesting, through a pandemic, we've actually seen showings. We've actually tripled our number of showings, doubled the number of applications we have on these properties. And the bulk of them have been essential workers, right? That have money, that have disposable income, and just looking to, have a chance to get their own home through the rent to own program that we do together with our investors. So it's been great.
Yeah, and I know just kind of the buzz now is more physicians are getting into real estate investing, just more passive income. And it's an episode you guys really have to check out. So I've been asking my guests about what predictions or a tip you have. I mean, with the new year comes new goals, new projects, new ideas, something they haven't considered in the past. What can you give to share with our audience today for 2021?
Oh, wow. That's a loaded question, Dr. Mike. There's lots of things here. But, one thing I would say, you mentioned more and more are starting to gravitate towards the security and predictability and control that they have over a real estate based investment. And I don't see things changing anytime soon. With the, rates will probably stay a little bit lower. I wish I had a crystal ball about how this foreclosure and eviction moratorium, how that's going to affect the markets. There will be some fallout and shakeout on that. But my tip would be, if you haven't gotten involved, I definitely would suggest finding an experienced operator that's doing this full time. We're a little bit different. This is more self-serving, but it's like the doctors that invest with us, they're secured specifically with a note and a mortgage or a deed of trust secured to an actual property. So it's different than investing in a fund where you're buying shares. And some people like that. They like that additional security. But I would say jump in. The water's great, and it's predictable and it's secure. And I feel like, it needs to be a portion of your portfolio. I know there's lots of other options, that might be, faster moving, projected returns are much higher. But I think your foundation, it's just a great opportunity. And then if you can, learn to do it in a tax deferred or tax-free environment, man, that just, that optimizes your rate of return, which is just huge. So, but yeah, I would say, really get going. Private lending is becoming more and more of a trend, for physician entrepreneurs, and allowing them to kind of see that light at the end of the tunnel, where their passive income ultimately will replace their active income and just start to provide more flexibility and options.
Yeah, right. Being the bank as opposed to the bank
Amen.
in control
Amen
of you. And the best place to reach out to you, Travis?
CapstoneFundingGroup.com. We've got a free private lender FAQs guide there for you, and happy to get on the phone. And even if it's just a, second set of fresh eyes, on anything you're doing or looking at, a lot of times we do that. We've done a lot of planning with people, and I really enjoy that. So it's very fulfilling. But yeah, please reach out. Anything I can do to be of helping you kind of jump into that game. A lot of our people come in passively, but we do also coach some people actively that duplicate our model and are having lots of success. So, but anyway, yeah, all the best in 2021. This is exciting.
All right, Travis. So good to hear from you, and same to you. Have a wonderful 2021, and just so great what you're doing and helping those families.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Travis. Now, last but certainly not least, we cannot complete the special 100th episode of the Bootstrap MD podcast without the efforts of my next guest. She's been featured in a total of 6 episodes. Episode number 21, number 26, number 31, number 44, number 57, and just recently on episode number 99. She was a speaker at my first Bootstrap MD conference and then became my business partner on the second Bootstrap MD conference. If you've been a listener to my podcast, she really needs no introduction. My good friend, you know her, you love her, Dr. Maisha Claiborne. Maisha, how you doing?
My friend! Long time. Good to be back.
It's been a long time, and as you know, I've been asking guests, just kind of updating them on what they're at, what projects are you on. What are you currently working on right now?
Well, so as those of the listeners and who have followed me, you know that I've transitioned into the Mind Remapping Academy. So I now, my big slogan in our past time together, in our past conference, the Bootcamp MD Live, was, get your mind right. And that actually led me somewhere. I am an NLP trainer and hypnosis trainer and a master NLP coach. And I thought it was time for me to bring that training forward. So I started the Mind Remapping Academy, and I'm now teaching and training and certifying others in neurolinguistic programming, in hypnosis, and actually as coaches. So we're the big project that I'm working on now is we have our upcoming training here in a couple of weeks, and I'm just getting people in.
So what type of physician would be right for this type of training?
Wow. So, first of all, there are some physicians who just know they're interested in NLP, they're interested in hypnosis. And I've had docs reach out to me who have been looking. So if that's you, then just go ahead and reach out to me. Other docs, if you are wanting to be a coach, if you have been considering coaching as an option, this type of work, this type of coaching training is above and beyond the rest of the coaching trainings, because it gives you additional tools in your toolbox that are not given in traditional coach trainings, that allow you to elevate your results, have your results be deeper, faster, better. And at the same time, you also get that personal development in yourself, and you get to the root of why you think the way you do, why you behave, your beliefs, and the access to shifting those into a more empowering place so that you can effectively grow your business or coaching practice. So those are the two types of people: those who already know they've been interested, because you're either interested, you either know or you don't know, right? You know about it and you're interested, or you don't know about it and you're wondering. And those who are wondering, these are the docs who are thinking about becoming coaches.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I think it's such rare, since I've used NLP in my life and I've seen the benefits, from that. It's such a powerful mindset, powerful strategy. Do you have any tips or advice that you want to give to our listeners going into 2021?
Yeah. Well, speaking of get your mind right, when we look back at 2020, it was a challenging year in many respects. And I saw, to say the least. And I've seen a lot of memes coming up on this final quarter of 2020, like, throwing away 2020 or 2020, what 2020 is like. And I think that, and then even people who are like, don't claim 2021 as your own, and don't, like really skeptical about the coming year. But I think that it's important to, number one, acknowledge what you've learned in 2020, acknowledge what you've accomplished in 2020, right? Not to necessarily ignore the bad, but to refocus and take the good with the bad. Without darkness, there can be no light, right? And then the 2020 is gone now. It's the past. And while things may not have much change in the world of the pandemic, we are still at the source of creating our lives. Every one of you out there are at the source. And one of the things I teach in NLP is that no matter the circumstances, you're at the helm, you're in the driver's seat. So what are you going to do with the blank pages of 2021? You get to choose.
See that NLP you just did? I'm already imagining that book, the pages. I need to fill that in. This is amazing. It's so powerful. Mike, where can I go to get more information about what you're currently doing? What's the best place?
Yeah, so if you want to learn more about the NLP and the mind remapping, if you want to learn more about the upcoming training, just go to remapmymind.com. That's remapmymind.com.
All right, and we'll have the links in our show notes. Maisha, it's so great to see you again. We got to talk sooner.
Yes, we do.
All right.
And, congratulations on your 100th episode.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. Thanks again, Maisha.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap. 100 episodes in the bank. If you made it all the way through, congratulations to yourself. I want to thank Dr. Lynn Marie Morsky, Dr. Michelle Mudge Riley, Travis Tolstrup, Dr. George Wong, Dr. Maisha Claiborne, Dr. John Jerica, Dr. Peter Kim, Robert Plank, and Dr. Christopher Liu. Again, I wish I could have had all of my guests, and I wish I could have had all of you on, but love all you guys. You know who you are, and you've all contributed to the success of this podcast. And if you're a listener and you would like to be spotlighted, feel free to drop us a line at BootStrapMD.com. If you want to go to past podcast recordings, you can find that also on the website at BootStrapMD.com/podcast. Feel free to subscribe. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. As always, guys, I hope in some way I helped inspire you, motivated you, kicked your butt a little bit with some tough love. If you're looking to start your own business, don't let the naysayers stop you from doing it. Listen to the person inside of you and keep moving forward.